Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I noticed that most everything you talked about, you related to fishing from the boat.
Yes.
We're all on kick boats. What would you change? Because you can't snap down in a kick boat, obviously.
You like working the frog and
Yeah.
7 o'clock.
Only this high up the water.
Our clock doesn't go. Our clock goes from like 4 to
You know what? You know what I do a lot. You know what I do, and that's a great question. You know, what can you apply in a kick boat from what we just talked about? I was talking about those fish aren't locked into their pattern yet, but they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there quick. One of my favorite way, and I don't even like to talk about this because I don't want guys to get, but in your guys' situation now, those kick boats, it'll work out great. I love to throw that frog and get my rod at about 7 or 8 o'clock, pointing out that way, and go. It's the only way I can generate that much speed with that frog. I can't generate the speed this way, but if I put my rod over here, but you're out of position to swing. So it's got to be a quick adjustment. You know what I'm saying? Where this way here, you're just going 6 to 12, less room for error. But this way here works good for me, and I can see if you guys are sitting in that kick boat, it would work for you. You just gotta turn your shoulders. It's almost like throwing a pass. You gotta turn your shoulders and face the fish before you swing. Because if you go and you try and swing, you're not gonna get the penetration. And skipping that frog over that open water like that, fishing it extremely fast. Last year, Chris and I, we weighed 5 for 37 pounds in a tournament, and we caught 3 of them like that. We had a 9, a 7, and a 6. Fishing that frog as fast as you could fish it. The biggest bass I've ever caught, was 13.5, August 27th of 2002 at 1:47 in the afternoon. I was fishing that thing 100 miles an hour. Had a guy, Bruce Abel, with me, client, and I'm letting the boat drip, and I said, throw, Bruce, right there, throw, throw, throw. And he went, phew, pull, reel it in, throw, Bruce, hit that, you know? And he goes, oh, heck, go ahead. And I go, okay. And she came out and she chased it. It was a patch of moss that big. I threw past it, killed it on top, and went, and she went, got the beat. I mean, her back was out of the water. Right before she got to it, she seed on it. Right before she got to it, she came up behind it and she came this way and she went, 13.5, man. Jumped out of the water 4 times. It was cool. It was bad. But, so that rod angle would be cool. You just got to remember to rotate your shoulders, face the fish, and then execute. But, you know, I fish belly boats. God, matter of fact, when I drove home today, I came through Isherwood. Made me think of the old days. Over there by Paseo Padre. Man, Monday, Tuesday, me and my buddy Shane McBride would be in that pond. We used to call that Mission Lakes. We would be in that pond 2 or 3 nights a week. In our 3-man Avon raft, we'd throw it over the fence. I got my 1 little paddle. We'd scull around. We got our 3 rods. And then when the weather would get nice enough, we'd take our belly boats. And this was like, you know, 1980 to 84, 85. So I spent a lot of time in the belly boats too. And I know it's, you know, I was down there at water level. You know, you guys have gone uptown on this thing. You know, you guys got a doggone yacht on it as far as I'm concerned. But like when you guys are worm fishing, you know how important that you got to square up before you pop that fish. If you know, you just get no leverage there, right? But you know, with that frog, you're going to have to do everything off to the side at 7 or 8 o'clock, and you're going to be fine. You just got to remember to square up before you execute, and you guys would be in good shape. But oh man, oh, it was the only place. You know, we didn't have a boat. I mean, we used to call Dell up down there at Dell's boat. Well, they call it River's End now. It's Dell's as far as I'm concerned. We used to call it. That was when they used to have them old wooden boats down there. You guys remember that? We'd call up Dell and say, hey, leave us a boat. And we had a 5-horse Green Johnson, man, that was held together with duct tape and rubber bands. And we take that and I had a min, and I was uptown too. I had a Minn Kota 28-pound thrust trolling motor, and I used to go over and talk to Jay Lou over in Newark all the time. And Jay, I was telling you about Lake Chabot, because we go to Chabot, when we weren't at the quarries, and then we come out here on the weekends. But Jay says I'd always griping about how we couldn't fish the whole lake in one day because we got a 28-pound thrust and only 2 batteries. Well, Bob, you need to bring that over, and I'll put a 36-pound thrust or a 36-pound thrust trolling motor head on this thing. Ho ho ho! Man, I remember going to Chabot the first time with that. Just rolling in there, man. I was pimping down there. Look at the size of the head on that trolling motor right here. We're gonna fish this whole place today, dude. But those were good times. That reminds me of that belly boat. But yeah, you get just rod angle to the side, and you'll be in good shape.
Open water fishing. I mean, do you find it like is there any dead water, or do you work it all the way back to the boat?
No. Let's say this is your Thule line, or this is your rock wall with some sparse wood on it, whatever it may be, whatever your target area is. Here's the bank. This is where the water stops. My strike zone is out to about here, and then I'm back to the boat. That's another reason why I think that 6+, 6'1", 6'2" gear retrieve is very important, so that you can get back so you can make the next throw.
So you work in that parallel or perpendicular?
I like to work at perpendicular. Now, my team partner, Chris, especially,
Did that have to do with your clients?
Yes and no, but I feel like that is the proper way to work it. Your bait is not in the productive zone for the duration of the cast like it would be if you were parallel throwing this way. Now I'm there the whole time. Maybe that it's angles. How is this fish looking at things? And there's different situations. There's a lot of times where if you pull it this way, there is no way you're going to get bit on that berm.
Right. So more so the pocket.
No way.
Okay.
It's and that's where you take into consideration your light, which direction your current's coming from, where is your current coming from. Maybe your current's coming this way. Instead of this way or this way. You get a situation where that current's coming this way, and that's real good stuff. Because that fish is sitting here like this.
Waiting for the current, whatever's coming down.
She don't know what just went by her head this way. She don't give a crap. I'm looking right here. And if it's not coming,
Towards your boat, right?
no, I'm over there. She's looking right here. She is focused. She's 3.5 pounds and above. 5 pounds, 6 pounds, been around the block more than once. Knows exactly what she's doing. Knows exactly when she needs to be there. Knows exactly when her forage is going to be there. And she knows how the forage comes through here. And it better come through here or she's not eating it. So you might pull it through here this way and maybe catch a 1.5 pound, 3/4 fish. Change your angle, and every time you swing, it's 4 1/4 to who knows what. Just with the change of angle, which really plays into your guys' hands because you guys are throwing that way a lot. Yeah. So, and the stealthiness, the way that you guys can creep around, right?
As opposed to a trolling motor.
Oh ho ho! Oh ho ho! That trolling motor is the most detrimental piece of equipment on that boat if a guy's not careful. Might as well stay at home if he doesn't know how to operate that thing, especially out here and Clear Lake. Don't let him know. Shoot, if those fish are over there in that tall yellow grass over there, and I'm going right here, and she's 4+, she was a little loose. She was 8 inches foot off of things, but she heard danger.
That far away?
Let me just, oh yes. Oh yes. If there's a spot that I'm going to fish that's a money spot, see that white car over there?
Yeah.
See that white car over there?
On the other side of the road?
Yep. See that white car right there? This is where I stop my boat. If I think there's a 4-pound+ fish there, depending on what time of the year it is. If it's September, October, it's 3 pounds. And I do that.
What are you doing? You just drifting over there?
Take my time, and I The first thing I do when I'm pulling up to a spot is I take into consideration which way the sun is, okay, which way the current's moving, and which way the wind's blowing. Because I'm going to use all three of them to my advantage.
Right, to get you to that position.
Sun in your face or on your back of your head?
I want that to have a shadow. I want that to be this much shadow, shade. That's what I want. That's what I want. Let the conditions.
So you're talking about the pictures over there at the white car, and you come along here, you're going to stop your boat motor here, not your trolling motor.
It all depends on how deep the water is and how important the tournament is.
Here, if you're stopping something way over here.
If I'm fishing for a boat, and I need a 3-pounder, I think I need a 3-pounder to win. I stop my boat right here and I troll a motor or push pull to that white car.
Right, your main motor here, and troll,
Because I got to have that thing.
right, so your trolling motor over there.
Either trolling motor or let the wind take my time, fish my way over there.
Yeah, I know. I've found times when I'm cruising around with my kick boat and a trolling motor, and I'll cruise right by a spot and I go, oh, that's a good spot. And what I'll try to do is go by it and come back around rather than try to stop right there.
Oh, you bet.
Reverse, fins down the water.
Oh,
spin
yeah.
around.
And that's the way to do it. Don't be in a hurry. Ooh, I just recognized something.
Yeah, 'cause you
Don't
look
screw it up now. Don't screw it up. Be the stealthy guy.
Yeah, a few times I've done that and I go, oh, I scared them out of here. I might as well just go on now.
And take the big loop around. And let's do it right the next time. Yeah, no, that's great. That's good stuff. A lot of people, don't take that kind of stuff into consideration. Super duper important. Shallow water environment, it's huge. Huge. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Open water frog. We're fishing a lot of docks out here now.
Yep.
And I mean, if we can get up to behind some of them,
Yes.
is that worth throwing a frog back up in there and trying to work it out of that kind
Very,
of
very much so. When I'm fishing, he's asking about docks and which ones may be important to fish and which ones may not be important to fish. When I'm fishing docks, first thing in the morning or the middle of the day, or if you're still out here in the evening, great. The thing that I take into consideration is when I'm fishing docks is the velocity of the current under that dock and the depth of the water, actually the depth of the water under the dock and the velocity of the flow that's moving through it. Those are the two important variables that you think about. The clearer the water in the dock area, the more bites you're going to get. And if you have a clear water environment with the dock situation and you have some movement, bonus round. Stay in the shade. Again, mechanics. You know how they got that boat that just barely fits in that slip? And you guys got to think a little bit here. I'm not talking about, now some of the coves where you guys caught some fish in March and April in the spawning situation, those can be very good too. Usually low light, first thing in the morning. Middle of the afternoon, a little touchy. If you've got a dock situation where you've got current, maybe it's not in a true harbor, maybe there's an entrance in the harbor and an exit in the harbor to where the current can move through it. That's the kind of docks that are good this time of the year. And especially if they've got that much clarity. Very good situation. You got that boat sitting there, barely fits. You got a little rope right here and a little rope right here. Whew. See how far you can get that joker up in there. Let it sit. Bop, bop, bop. And you got to really take your time. Where are you going to go, right? You can't go fish Victoria Slough if you launch right here, right? You're sitting right there. You make that cool pitch underneath that rope. You'll be amazed at some of the bites you get. Some of the fish that are sitting underneath some of those docks. They live there. They spawn there. They stay there in the summertime. They stay there in the wintertime. You ain't moving. Why should I leave?
What about some of the docks behind them have like coulees, and then some of them are just bare bank with rock wall behind them? Is there a preference of which is better at that?
First thing in the morning, I'm on those tules, or rock, tule clump. Ooh. Rock, tule clump, piece of wood, bonus. First thing in the morning. Sun starts to come up, where are they going? Because you got that You got the long deal like this right here. It's got the roof, all this shade. Think about where your sun's coming from. Whew. You know. How deep are they suspended underneath the docks? It varies. It varies. There's so many more bass underneath those docks that you can't see, that I can't see. It would blow us away. A lot of times what I'm doing is I will make my first pass down through there and just fish with my eyes and look for snouts. A lot of times you'll only be able to see that much of her. I mean, you know, that dock's right here and that shade is right here, and you got that blue foam or that green foam that comes down here, and you can you can just barely see that much of her nose. She's there. Cool. She's pretty tall too. Okay. Number 124. We'll come back to that. What's that? Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of times. Now that is a fish that is extremely catchable. Extremely catchable. If they're that high up. A lot of those fish, you've got this big piling right here that is holding this gangplank right here. That's where she's at. And she's probably, and her buddy's on the other one that's in the back that you can't get a cast to. Unless you can get around the back side. And a lot of times those fish are, you know, it might be, you know, 6, 7, 8 feet deep, but those fish are at 2 or 3 foot. Those are fish that can be caught on a frog. Yes, sir.
Keeping in mind our limitations, if you were fishing this tournament, what would you do
I know the answer. How much money do we have to pay for that?
Oh my gosh. Man, I like to be really, really honest with my guys, and that one makes it real tough to be honest, because I know right where you guys can win this thing by a mile. But you'd all be there, and I'd have no guide fish next week for my clients.
First come, first serve.
Oh.
If you don't get a good answer, we're going to complain on the NCDF board.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Very cool.
Make it a generic answer.
I'll tell you what. Well, it all depends. I mean, you might like throwing a worm. You might like flipping a jig. You might like throwing a spinnerbait. You're going to throw a speed trap all day long. You're going to throw a frog. You know, it all depends. If you guys want to catch a bunch of fish, put on a brown speed trap, and go get in. Pick 2 or 3 openings within kickboat distance, and make sure you touch the bottom. If you want to get a big bite, make sure you touch the bottom. If that thing's free swimming, it's not touching anything, you're going to catch these guys. You know? And you can also go back through that same area. You know, you get your 2 or 3 little areas, and you notice that one area, the fish are a little bit bigger. You need to put on a big worm, Carolina rig it, and drag it through there. And have the discipline to wait for the 3-pounder to eat. That's one way. The other way is to fish that frog in open water, in the clearest water that you can find in this vicinity. The other thing you can do is get out off the bank and throw a rattle trap all day. You're going to catch a couple of small stripers in the process, but you're going to get some pretty cool shots at some nice largemouth too. A rattle trap, and if you notice that most of your rattle trap fish are, you know, I've caught 5 or 6, 9 rattle trap fish, but I don't have any 3-pounders. Try a spinnerbait with discipline, and moving that handle about this fast.
Slow roll on the bottom.
Get that joker out of sight.
now? Colorado or
I'd say Colorado willow
Half ounce.
or willow, half ounce, and again, have the discipline, because you're going to get weeds on it. Those blades aren't. You got to be in tune with that thing. You got to know that both of those blades are spinning, because you make 250 casts with that spinnerbait, and 50 or 60 of those throws, you got to pull the crud off because the front blade's not spinning, and you've got a 3.5 or a 4 pounder that did this, but it just wasn't right because that front blade was just sitting there going instead of doing this. Okay, so and that's what I think about. You know, I got to get all this stuff off of here. I got to go through it. No big deal. Later in the day when you're not catching a whole lot of fish, it's a real pain in the butt, but you got to make each throw right. It's got to be right, you know. This time of the year takes a lot of discipline, but I don't think it's any more discipline than it is in the springtime. You know, in the springtime, think about April. Think about the hours that you spend not getting bit in April. April's my least favorite month. I can't stand April. Hate April.
Because of the transition from spring to summer, or
Well,
water?
the number one goal on those, the number one thing on a fish's list of things to do in April is to have sex.
Right.
It is not to eat something.
Right.
And I like to throw stuff and make them come get it and eat it. And so I spend a lot of time throwing those reaction baits. Yeah, you throw some clouds in the mix and you bring some rain in and it's like, holy Toledo. You know, wow, look at these guys. Here, take my picture. But let's deal with reality. You know, that happens 2, 3, 4, 5 days during the month. The rest of the time, these guys are interested in finding a girlfriend and finding a boyfriend. Now, February and March, whole different story. That's where you can take that spinnerbait and go like this and catch a 3.5. You know, watch this one. You know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, anyway, April is just, that's the Cinco guys. You know, I mean, and I'm not knocking that at all. But that's where the guy goes down the bank and he pitches a Cinco over there or helix or whatever and goes, oh, you know, April. It's his favorite month because he caught an 11.6 that, you know, in April on the Delta. So it's his favorite month because of one fish. But do that tomorrow and do it the next day and do it next week. Ain't gonna happen. So, anyway.
What is your favorite month?
July, August, September, October, December, January. I'll tell you what, when they're eating, my favorite month is any month when fish have to be caught because they're feeding. Those are my favorite months. When you have to entice those fish into striking a lure because they're hungry or because you agitate them. Now, you can do that in springtime too, I know.
More so in the fall, right?
Yeah, fall's cool. February, and I know you guys have all experienced the slackline spinnerbait, the 3.5 pound slackline spinnerbait bite, 3rd week of February, 4th week of February, 1st week of March, right? I mean, where you throw that blade out there, maybe you're over in Venice or whatever it is, water's clear, and you come like, you got some clouds over or whatever, and you know, a little bit of rain starts to drop, and you throw that spinnerbait over there and you just watch the big black shadow just come over and your whole spinnerbait goes, goodbye, you know? And then you do that 4, 5, 6 times with those kind of fish, and you got a bunch of 3-pounders to go with it. You know, during the course of the day, they're feeding. They know they're on a schedule. We got to do this right here. Now those fish don't show. Now this is my point. Those fish do not show up March 15th like this because they haven't been eaten in December and January. Those fish gorge themselves in December and January. It doesn't seem like it to us. Unless you have the conditions.
Put the deal around your back and the other part.
What are they feeding on? December and January, what are they feeding on?
December, January, what are they feeding on? They're feeding on spinnerbaits and rip baits. You know, look at this. Woo, fancy. Yeah, reaction baits, man. You get some of those times where they won't chase it, you know, so you do the split shot technique is awesome. The drop shot technique, I'm learning how to do that drop shot. You know, I knocked it for years. Boy, was I wrong. I'll be the first one to admit, what a great technique. I can see why those guys did so well, you know, doing that. For stubborn fish, that drop shot is an awesome way to catch them. But Bill Cimentel is the one that showed me how to do that. He came up this spring. I met him when I was doing some shows in Southern California. And he goes, hey, I'm going to fish some Delta tournaments this year. I don't know the place. Maybe you can show me around and I'll show you some of the stuff I do. Cool. Even swap. And so he showed me some big fish techniques, and he showed me this drop shot thing. And the first day I was like, dude, you got to be kidding me. I had to, no. I'm going to do this. I'm throwing my spinnerbait, my rod. He goes, oh, there she is. 3.5. Boy, that's a nice fish. Went right over the top of that one. Hey, all right, whatever. There she is. Oh, man, look at this one. Yeah, I mean, he had a 24, 25 pound limit. And my limit was, maybe 13, 14 pounds. And so that's what it took. It took, I did my thing, and he did this. And I compared the two, and my thing is not as good as that. So I got really educated. That was really cool. And since then, I mean, I've drop shotted a lot of fish over 5 pounds. A lot of fish over 5 pounds that I would have probably not caught in the past. So, very, very cool technique.
2-day tournament, and let's say both days are the same in conditions. We go, let's say we're throwing a frog and it's a mat, we find fish, big fish. We go there on the one day, we catch a lot of good fish. The second day we go back, they're not there. Would there be anything else different that you might apply to get these fish to go?
Yeah, where in the hell did the fish go?
They didn't go anywhere. Some of them did. A portion of them didn't. Maybe they ate earlier, maybe they're going to eat later. And that's where I'm talking about that frog. That's why when I throw it, I start with it, and I make my first throw with it, I make my last throw with it. Because at some point in time in here, there may be a primary window, a little micro window, and then another little micro window. Or, who knows how it's going to be spread out as far as the activity levels go. That's up to the lunar clock and the barometric pressure and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a scientist, but I do know that if I take this thing that's very appealing to larger fish and I stay with it and I fish this thing with 100% confidence, I will get my shots. Some shots are better than others, and then if I mess them up, took me 2.5 hours to get that bite. And I heard a bird chirp and I looked, and that's when that joker ate it. I know they can see you. I know,
Started talking to somebody.
Okay, he's not looking, go ahead. Oh, it happens way too much. I know they can see you. But, oh well. Any other questions?
I don't know if it's true or not, but are you still doing are you cutting across the back of the frog to get a better ratio?
Cutting across?
Cutting across the back of the frog?
No, you know what? I used to do that. I used to, where the two hooks are. I used to take a razor blade and put a slice here and a slice here so that the air would escape faster. Yes. And so they kind of tinkered around a little bit with the bottom thing because I told them, I can't leave it. I can't let it sit in open water. It sinks, because air's coming in, or air is escaping and water's. So and that's part of the concept with that. The flapper valve where the hook goes. It was supposed to be out already. They had a problem getting the skirt material. There was like 2 or 3 distributors of skirt material, and one guy bought all 2 of them or 3 of them, pulled them all together. Didn't take any orders for that period of time. Took them over here, set up shop. Now he's taking orders, and he started that like a month and a half ago. So they're behind in skirt material.
And also with the regular pro series, you cut the size off of them, make the leg longer with big rubber, with rubber. Weight them up and walk them the same way. Come up with that,
Yeah, I mean that's what we used to do.
I mean the longer leg, does it matter?
The longer legs, we've played with that. It does work. There are times when those fish do like that long flapping stuff going on back there. Yes, it does work. I don't do that as much as I used to. You know, that's what's cool about that thing. I don't think there's any other bait that's been tinkered with more than that doggone frog, you know, because everybody sees the potential of the thing, the fish that are interested in it, and everybody wants to get their hands on just one more of those guys, you know. But anyway, I better close up shop here. I know you guys got to get to sleep. You guys better be in bed by 7:30, right? Big tournament tomorrow.
Appreciate you coming out, bud.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're